Hey there, this is Patrice Washington from patricewashington.com, where we chase purpose, not money. So today I want to teach you a very important skill, and it's how to train your brain to expect more. But before I do, don't forget to click around here somewhere and subscribe to these videos because they come out each and every Tuesday, and trust me, you don't want to miss one. Okay, so why is it important to train your brain? Here's the deal. So many of us have just been beat up by life, right? And even though you have goals, you have dreams, you have big things you want to accomplish, sometimes it's really hard to walk into that because there's things going on in your mind that tell you otherwise. Now, that might have come from someone actually talking to you negatively or talking negatively about you. Or it could have come from a life experience, some type of trauma, which maybe you went through a failure like I did, where my entire business got shut down and I went from a 7-figure business to scraping up change. It really was hard to remind myself that I was still worthy of something more. And maybe that's how you feel too. So here are 3 things to train your brain so that you can begin to expect more. The first thing is you want to commit to a daily mantra. Do you realize that it's estimated that on any given day, we are having over 70,000 thoughts go through our brain? The problem is so many of those thoughts are negative. Have you ever been doing something and said, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, or I'm so dumb, or I can't get it together, or I'm a hot mess? I'm not going to lie. The hot mess one is typically where I tend to go, right? But you have to remind yourself that words are very powerful. And what you verbalize in your life, you magnify and magnetize. And your brain is always going to make you right. So whatever you're talking about, whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're speaking about, it's going to continuously come up for you. So instead of allowing your brain to run rampant with negative thoughts, it's really important that we learn how to counter that with some positivity. And one thing that we can do to counter the negativity is to really come up with a positive thought that we use to replace it. So I'll give you an example. When my husband and I lost everything, one of the things that happened was that we had 2 vehicles, matching Range Rovers, that were voluntarily repossessed. And instead of getting frustrated every time we saw someone happily drive by in their Range Rover, we started to look at each other and look at the car and say, been there, done that on the way back. And that was a way that we just trained ourselves to turn that negative feeling, that negative vibe, energy, that thing that took us back all the way to the time that we had a failure. We started to train ourselves to expect more by reciting something that made us feel hopeful. So what is one mantra that you can use to keep you really focused on where you're going and not so focused on where you've been? The second thing is you want to put yourself in your aspirational reality. That means that wherever you see yourself next, you want to find ways to experience that now. And it doesn't matter how small. Because I really believe that when we have exposure to something, it elevates our expectation to attain it. That means like we really believe we can do it. So for example, as a speaker, when I first started speaking, first of all, people would never pay for my travel. I would have to pay for my own flight to get somewhere, and then I might be paid to speak. And then the next level, people started to pay for my flight, but it was always the main cabin. And I had a vision of people flying me first class around the world to speak to their organizations or at their conferences, churches, whatever. And so what I started to do is when people would buy me a main cabin ticket, I would still put out the extra $100 or couple $100 so that I could fly first class. And that was all about, one, training myself to believe that this vision that I had was actually possible. And that's actually what happens now. And it actually happens effortlessly, but I put myself in that space before it actually began to happen. My husband has done the same thing. He's really into cars, has always been a car buff. And before he could start to afford the luxury cars that he has now, he used to just go and test drive them. Sometimes it's more important to just sit in that space, to be able to touch and feel and experience something, than it is to just put it on a vision board. So this is like vision boarding on steroids, because you actually put yourself in that place and you can experience all the feelings that come along with it. And the third way that you can train your brain to expect more is by doing something nice for someone else. Now, I know that probably seems crazy, but here's the thing. I know the nightly news is really bleak and we're hearing all these negative stories, but the reality is there are still really great human beings out there, and I'd like to believe that you are one of them too. And the thing is that when we do random acts of kindness, pay for someone's coffee behind us, or just give someone a compliment, especially if they look like they're feeling a little down. When you do things like that to unexpectedly bless other people, it does something for you, because it creates that little reminder that blessings are possible. And the more you do that for others, you'll begin to see that it's like a law, it's a cycle of giving and receiving. So if you are putting out those type of good vibes and really trying to bless other people or do something nice for other people, don't be surprised that that comes back for you, because that's going to actually raise your level of expectation for what's possible. So now I want to hear from you. Do you have a daily mantra that gets you through your day? And have you ever committed a random act of kindness? What did it do for the other person, and what impact did it have on you? It's really important that I hear from you, especially over at patricewashington.com, because there I'm building a community of women who want to grow with me. That means you want to live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever chasing money. Want to learn more? Download the Redefining Wealth podcast now. There you'll get more insights on my 6 pillars of wealth, and also hear inspiring interviews by some of the country's leading entrepreneurs, executives, authors, entertainers, and athletes on how they use these principles to fuel their finances and success.